in your early years, there were signs that you had that physical, athleticism, and you did a lot of ballet and also figure skating. Maybe talk us through
Yes.
those earlier years and where you were kind of at with regards to those, those co-curricular activities and sports you're involved in.
Yes, I mean, I was doing sports since before I can remember. Like one of my earliest memories is doing a rollerblading race down like a main street. I have no context as to really what was happening, but yeah, I my sister was doing figure skating before me, and I just followed her into the sport, and we were doing that from the age of 3 and 5. So my whole life was just enveloped in like ice skating, and I really enjoyed that performance aspect and going the training and the values that I learned through the sport, not only about myself but about how to progress, how to get better, how to be stronger. And then I did different things like excelled at athletics and cross country running, and I also did gymnastics for a little while, which contributed to the physicality of things. But when I got to 9, it became a point where I was competing at the Australian Championships for ice skating. So the other sports kind of fell to the side, and that became the priority. Then we moved to Sydney when I was 13, and I was going to performing arts high school doing, dance, ballet, acting full time. Was very much taking that was my day life, and then I go do ice skating in the evenings. And yeah, I was quite a high level at ice skating already at the as a teenager, and so that was our focus and my family's kind of rhythm. And then I found parkour. I just saw it on the internet one day, and it just kind of moved everything off the priority scale a little bit and became exact. Felt like I was put here to do that
Yeah.
in the most puritanical way I can put it. Is like this is the thing I'm meant to be doing, and everything else was kind of building blocks to that. But it gave me such good fundamentals coming from professional sport and going to a high level at a younger age. Really, yeah, gave me the workings and understandings of what it takes to be a professional athlete as an adult.
It was kind of that transition moment where figure skating was like what you fell into in your younger years, but parkour
Mhm.
was actually what you wanted to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I was always drawn to like action films and ninjas and stuff like that. But growing up, I wasn't very confrontational. I didn't like the idea of sparring or fighting a partner to learn skills and stuff like that. And so when I saw this and it was like you can just run around and jump on things and it has a name, it just felt like that was it. Like that's what I want to be doing.
And so was there anyone that really picked up on it before you or said you'd be good at this, or was it just purely through your own research and, scanning the web and that kind of thing and seeing others doing?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really meet anybody else that was doing it prior to me starting for about a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
I was very much just getting friends who I did ice skating with or friends from school. And I was like, come try this thing. It's super
Yeah.
cool. And just enthusiastically involving like a smaller community of just friends and people who are willing to try a backflip. Because I think at 15, pretty much every male is like, I would love to be able to do a backflip. Like,
Yeah.
even if it's not something they're chasing, it's a skill that all of us kind of find endearing and fascinating at that time. So, yeah, I would start training with these guys, and then eventually we started going to a gymnastics center, and that's where I met people from the Sydney parkour community who had been previously training longer than I had, and their understanding for what the sport was a little bit more developed and curated to what the culture and the community values are, as
Yeah.
opposed to me being like parkour is backflips off stuff and just doing that for the first year, getting really good at backflips for no reason, or not no reason, but like without really knowing. I was just copying what I saw online.
You're on a podcast, I think, in 2021, where you were talking a bit about tall poppy syndrome and growing up in Australia and how, it can be when you're doing something that's a little bit outside the norm, or, people may, struggle to digest and understand why you're doing things. And I was also listening to a podcast recently, Modern Wisdom, and they were talking a bit about how there's this point in anyone's kind of career or life when they're doing something, they're aspiring towards something and working towards something, that they have this period of loneliness where they have their original set of friends. And as they're transitioning into what they're doing, um, before they're, garnered their new set of friends, they have this period of loneliness or isolation. Did you find you had that period of kind of loneliness when you were transitioning into parkour? Because if you say came and grabbed me and asked me to do some stunts with you, I'd be like, man, I'll hold the phone for you, but I can't do much more than that, you know? So I imagine there was a lot of people that were, you know, either scared of hurting themselves and injuring themselves, or not, you know, looking strange in public or
Yeah, yeah.
stacking.
No, but I mean, I honestly, I never felt that kind of loneliness with the Switch. If anything, finding like-minded individuals who were interested in doing the same thing as me was actually more welcoming than school had been, or more welcoming than uh, like other sports had been. There's
Yeah,
been so much interpersonal drama with ice skating and all these other traditional sports that when I found parkour, I really felt accepted, and I
right.
was less worried about fitting in than I'd ever been. So it became more of a natural
Yeah,
place for me to be myself. And the people within the sport generally are learning the same practices and morals around problem solving, overcoming obstacles, and all these other kind of wider life messages that permeate directly from the sport to how you see
yeah,
things. And yeah, the community is actually the reason, the people involved are the reason that I kind of stayed with the sport and grew to such a stage, is because I really feel like we're unique in the sense that we have this amazing supportive community that isn't focused on ranking or stacking or levels. It's all about supporting each other's creative individualism and
mm,
making sure that you are on your journey and empowered by that. And so, yeah, when I came to parkour, it was less loneliness and more
yeah.
like creating friends. And now, even still, I have friends from when I started parkour that are still my friends today. They don't train, but they're still some of my very best friends because we have such a similar worldview or similar ethos about how we go about things. And yeah, I've been able to maintain really strong friendships for over a decade through not just through the sport, but from the wider people involved with it.
Imagine globally as well, like when you travel as well, you meet up with other free runners.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be
absolutely. It's very hard now because I spent so much time overseas over the years and created such strong friendships and bonds with these people that yeah, there's months at a time where I don't get to see them, and a lot of the communication becomes online. And I'm quite a social person, so that fuels me.